Welcome to RevenueFi's 2024 webinar series focused on overcoming the uncertainty that we're facing this year. Today's session was sparked by some feedback that we're hearing both from the IT and integration industries about kind of falling bookings and revenue being down. And our last two sessions, we really focused in on some best practices of how to overcome for the immediate. Today, we want to change our strategy and talk about how we overcome revenue challenges in the future and start fixing the longer term problems that are out there. So for today's webinar, we have enabled questions, and so feel free up top, there's a Q&A spot. You can jump on there and give us questions throughout, and at the end, we'll make sure to make some time to be able to address those questions. Uh, Just a quick introduction. My name's Tyler Ebnett. I'm the president and principal consultant here for RevenueFi. My background is really focused on helping organizations with their revenue strategy, both from a project-based and also with a recurring revenue standpoint, helping to grow those and helping to grow the sales team. I'm joined here today by one of our partners, Andy Goodman. Andy, welcome. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Thanks, Tyler. I'm excited to be here today. I've known Tyler for quite a few years now, and once Tyler started working at RevenueFi or started his company, we did a partnership. And to give everybody out there just a little bit of knowledge on who I am, I started a recruiting firm when I was 25 years old. So for 27 years, I've been placing people. I initially started my business placing salespeople. It's morphed over the years due to high demand from my core group of clients that I represent. They've always asked me to jump into some other arenas, and I always took pride in saying, thanks, but I specialize in the placement of sales. Until a company in Northeastern Ohio asked me to start doing some HR searches and C-level searches, and it was probably the best business decision of my life. So over the last 27 years, I've built my business at a peak to 18 employees. I want to share a little side business that I had that will give some validity to this conversation. But in the beginning of 2016, my younger brother is a dermatologist. He went on to become a Mohs surgeon and a cosmetic surgeon. And since I had a nice little business of 20 years, he basically beat me down to go into business with him after me saying no for many months. So we put together a deal, and we opened a medical practice. I had a lot of philosophies behind that. It was a fun challenge over 5 years, but over a 5-year period, we took it from really something pretty small and grew it to about 70 employees, multiple locations. We ended up selling it in the summer of 2021. I negotiated a buyout to focus on my recruiting firm. And so my passion is my recruiting firm, but I do have some knowledge about growing a business, scaling a business, selling a business. So I could bring some insight to that as well. So I'm happy to be here, Tyler. Thanks for the invite. This will be fun.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, thanks for joining us. Excited to be able to talk through some of these conversations that we started here a couple months ago. So just quick note here before we go into today's content. We do have one more boot camp coming up here this summer, kind of tied into this theme of growing backlog, growing bookings for 2024. This will be a virtual prospecting boot camp that we're going to start the week of August 5th, and there'll be 4 virtual sessions that week that we're going to have as part of that, and really build on how can we get that backlog to where it needs to be to support some of the revenue out there. So look for some information coming on that. But kind of turning our focus here to the conversation for today. Again, this original series that we started with our webinar back in April was really from feedback from our customers and some organizations in the industries that bookings had slowed down. And one of the staggering facts that we saw from some of the information out there is that 70% of respondents in the industry said bookings were down or flat in compared to last year. So as we think about that, again, we went through some tactics to help overcome that here for today. But really, having the right people is going to be something that's going to fix this longer term. And your sales, your revenue team is going to be a group that we really should be investing in making sure that we've got the right people on the team that are up for this challenge. So taking that data about bookings, and Andy and I were thinking about what we're doing here with sales folks, and it really is you hire the right salespeople, or you have the potential to fail or not overcome some of these revenue challenges. And there's some data out there here right now. It takes on average 12 months for a new salesperson to be effective in the IT and integration industry. And some metrics even have that longer. And so when we think about the investment of hiring the right salesperson to overcome that, you want to make this choice one time, not multiple times, so that you're not waiting on that revenue coming in. When you think about open sales positions, with the average salesperson having anywhere from 250 to $450,000 in GP that they're generating each year on average, that open sales position, every month that we have that open, it's costing us GP and potential future revenue as well too that we might not be looking at. And as we look at the cost of replacing a sales professional, um, there's a lot of studies out there that it's costing upwards of $250,000 when you add in all these different costs that are going into hiring a new sales professional. For the folks that registered for this, the average time to hire a new salesperson, based on everybody that registered here for this webinar, the average is coming in between that 30 and 60 days out there. So, Andy, you get so much more exposure to some of this data from what you do every single day. Are you seeing this, these numbers getting higher, being harder to keep talent? What are you seeing out there, from that standpoint?
It's throughout my career I've always said this, but now after the pandemic, it's a war on talent, and everybody's experiencing, Tyler, what you're saying here. And what I try to encourage my clients, I've got about 50 clients that I represent nationally. I encourage my clients that when they need a good salesperson, because all the statistics that you just discussed, Tyler, are accurate across the board, from medical companies to software companies to private equity firms we represent, industrial-based companies. We could go through the list of industries, but everybody is having a tough time keeping salespeople happy, finding the right salesperson, having a process. The one thing that I like to encourage my clients to do is if they are ready to hire, if they need a salesperson, they have to look at hiring as important as any other function of their business. And I know as a business owner that you get sidetracked by 8 billion other things. But when it's time to hire, the biggest thing that I talk to my clients about is having a defined process in a timely manner with over communication. Because these people, if you target LinkedIn, that's what my company does. We target LinkedIn, but I've been building a database for 20 some years that I've got great candidates from sales across the board. But when we focus in on a search, we have to start moving people through a process. If we find the right fit, I say no longer than 48 to 72 hours. Once you get that person, it's just like a cell. You want to strike while the iron's hot. Time kills deals. And so, to reiterate what you said, Tyler, yes, it's happening across the board. And when you decide to hire a salesperson, there has to be a defined process to an offer. I would say max 14 business days. Sometimes with executive level search or higher level searches, it could go out to a 30-day period, but anything past a 30-day, anything past a solid two business weeks for a sales rep, you're probably pushing the statistics of that person not going to accept.
Gotcha. Yeah. Great to know. Well, knowing these statistics, what Andy and I kind of put together here, we wanted to give you three kind of action items that you can walk away from this 30-minute webinar from. So what I'll do here next, knowing that there's a war on talent, knowing that bookings are down and that we need to have the right people on the team to be able to overcome some of these challenges. Let's talk about some of these three key takeaways that we have, and we can go into them a little bit more detail. But Andy, I might turn it over to you. You alluded to the process here. You see a lot of organizations that don't have a process, and you kind of defined, as you're looking at what the process is, you gave me kind of a formula that you really like to use. Do you maybe want to speak to this formula that's on the
Yep.
screen?
So when I train my recruiters and when I consult with companies, there's specific things that I look for, which pretty much everybody looks for. I don't really enjoy running ads. We want to target people that aren't looking. Usually, the people that aren't looking for a career are the ones that statistically are a little bit better than the people that respond to ads that you run.
Hmm.
So when we go to a profile, what I like doing is I like looking for early life experience. So I look for that person that was a college athlete or worked during college or was in Boy Scouts or did some fraternity, had a chair in a fraternity or a sorority. That person that when I start an interview, if I could get to the root of what is at their drive, and if they're a family person, they go, Andy, look, I can't let down my wife and kids. I really get excited when I interview people for my companies, when they say, Andy, at the end of the day, I want to make my mom and dad proud. I got a brother that's a doctor, and I want to show to them that I'm gonna be successful in my life. So we look for early life experience. The other thing that we look for next on the list here is stability. Stability, in my opinion, is key. I know working with Tyler for a few years now, we don't typically look for the farmers. We want people that know how to sell. Farmers, in my opinion, those are pharmaceutical reps. They bring bagels. They don't really have a sales process. They don't know what it really takes to run a process. So if we could find a person with stability that's coming out of a high activity field, copiers, payroll, advertising, software, even if they're in your industry, we want to find a person with stability. If they don't have stability, we really want to dig in and figure out, what was the root of the moves. So when you get a person that starts talking negative about a company, there's red flags that pop up left and right. So good salespeople, in my opinion, they're going to have very calculated reasons why they've moved if they do move quick, but we do look for stability. Going back to hunters, we want people that drive business. I look for the formula. I always try to dig deep and figure out what is the formula to success. When a candidate says to me, Andy, I've got to conduct at least 75 to 100 plus prospecting calls per week, because what that does in my funnel is that'll yield about 15 new appointments per week. So once you get that funnel going and you get the appointments, you continue to prospect and cold call, good things are going to happen. So we always look for hunters across the board for all my companies. I don't typically look for farmers when it comes to new business development. So that's the next. The last thing that I really encourage my clients to do when it comes to comp package alignment, I've done this with my recruiting firm. I did this when our goal with my brother in the medical practice was we want to grow this thing and sell it. We knew that we had to make investments. I knew that we had to spend a lot of money to eventually make a lot of money. And so a lot of times my companies that I represent, they'll say, Andy, we want somebody from the industry, or we want, the best of the best, but we're going to pay them, a specific range. Now, when you go after people that are not actively looking, the comp package is extremely important. Going back to my two companies, when it was a commission side recruiter that would work for me, I would pay them more money than they ever made in their whole life. I based the medical practice that we grew and sold to private equity. Every employee that I hired, I don't care if it was a manager, a medical assistant, a doctor, a PA, I made sure that every person we hired, we paid them more money than they ever made in their life. And so I know as a business owner that it gets a little bit scary, to invest that type of money in people. But at the end of the day, you gotta invest money to make money. So the comp package, it has to truly be aligned with what you're specifically looking for in a candidate, knowing that they are not looking for a new job. So my experience is to recruit great talent, not running ads and pulling people that are always looking for a new job, but to recruit great sales talent. Those people leave for statistically two reasons. Number one, we catch them at the right time when we're directly recruiting them and they are pissed at their boss, they're pissed at their company, the company just gave them a comp change or raised quota, and we catch them at the right time. They are receptive to new opportunities. The other reason people make a career change, if they're happy, is money. You have to put a comp package in place that's going to get them to another level, especially when we get to the offer stage and a candidate accepts. This just happened. I typically don't have people turn down jobs or fall offs. I've probably had 4 in the last year and a half, but I had one recently where I recruited a candidate where we caught him at the right time. The money was pretty similar to what he was making right now. Over the month process that he went through as an executive, that feeling of being upset at his coworkers, which he worked with this company for 10 years, subsided. The package was just a little bit better than he was at now. And when he turned to notice, they counteroffered him and said, look, we're family, families fight. I know you were upset 6 weeks ago, but we're going to throw more money at you and we want to keep you. And the guy took the counteroffer. So you have to really put in good packages to attract these people, because when it comes to counteroffers, those companies are going to do everything to keep those people. And there is a percentage of those people that stay. So there's some advice.
Awesome. Well, I think that's a great takeaway here for everybody today. The number one, define your ideal traits and your ideal process within there, and make sure that your comp package, your overall package. Again, it's not always just pay, but the overall package is aligned for that ideal candidate that you're looking for. I think that's a big piece that we see from working with a lot of organizations. We just don't have that defined and what that looks like. So that's action item number one. So the next takeaway that we wanted to kind of give everybody here is the correct kind of utilization of profiling and having a model of highly successful sales professionals, either in your organization or the industry, so that again, salespeople by nature are really good at selling you. And so, of course, they're going to be really good at the interview process, right? And so using factual data to help you not necessarily weed out a candidate, but to help you ask the right questions during the interview process. So what we would recommend, we use a tool called PXT Select, and we've built some models for the IT integration spaces there with using people that have been very successful in the industry to do that. And when we use these tools, now we can have better questions during the interview process, knowing that salespeople are going to be very good at doing interviews and very good at responding back to that. Again, it's a big investment that you're making to hire these salespeople, and if we are paying good comp plan packages, we don't want to be surprised by something that we didn't know about them. So correct utilization of these tools, I think they're very powerful. I don't encourage them as a pass fail. I rather use them just to, identify areas that you want to explore more during the interview process. So key takeaway for that, if you don't have a profile that you're using, again, we'd love to help you out with that, but there are a lot of sales profile tools that are out there. We just recommend, especially for sales, since they are generally a pretty highly compensated person in your organization, use some type of tool to profile them, and that will feed you some questions for the interview process. So kind of our last one here, Andy, and you brought this one up, but just the lack of process and the time that you see organizations taking to move salespeople through a hiring process. And you kind of defined, these two kind of major deterrents that you see in recruiting salespeople. You maybe want to speak about, the process and the communication piece. You alluded a little bit, but maybe just a little bit more on that.
So what I mean by that is, again, this is a process that I have with my clients and myself. And what I see a lot of companies doing is If they had a good process and if they knew how to hire people, I would be out of a job, and so it is very difficult. It really is, to recruit the top of the top salesperson out there to come work for one of my clients. I really beat down on my clients the communication, because it is so key when somebody is not looking to have a great line of communication. What I mean by that is, after the first interview, within a few hours before the end of the day, send some communication to the recruiter, or if you're not utilizing a recruiter, and you really like a candidate, take it upon yourself to recruit that candidate. Send the candidate before they even send you the traditional waiting on a thank you email from the candidate. If you really like somebody, send a nice email to them. Hey, thanks for your time today. I've been reflecting on our conversation. Really looking forward to taking you to the next step. So communication is key to attract the right people. You have to look at it. If anybody out there is a sports fan, I'm a huge sports fan. It's college recruiting. It's to get the number one quarterback in the country, you got to communicate. You got to have a process to attract those people. So a lot of times my companies, they again, like I said earlier, they're doing a billion things. These managers, these owners, they're doing 1,000 things outside of just trying to recruit salespeople, even though it's really important. So take sales hiring and just hiring in general as a top action item at your organization. Communicate, have a timely process, get somebody on and off the market, and strike while the iron's hot. So that's what my biggest bit of advice would be, to land top talent in this market right now.
Awesome. All right. So one action item that we think that you can do, again, whether you're recruiting internally or using an external resource, every 48 hours, making sure that you have some level of communication back to your ideal candidates, just to keep them excited. As Andy mentioned, time kills deals, whether it's sales or recruiting. Just giving them a note, letting them know that, hey, you're still moving this forward, or there's still something happening. If you've got something communicating with them every 48 hours, your chances of keeping that top salesperson in the pool goes up exponentially. So when you think about your process, you think about your ideal traits, you think about profiling, adding this communication into there every 48 hours, I think is critical. Well, knowing that now, we covered 3 action items that you all can take away from this session here today. First one was define that ideal sales profile and make that a repeatable process for you. Again, just like we use metrics for our business and we compare, statistics from last year to this year, if we can compare our successful salespeople to the people that we're hiring, our chances of securing that top person go up substantially. The next one was utilize a profiling tool to make your interviews more successful and just make sure that we are getting the person that we think that we're getting. And then finally, have a defined rhythm of communication when you're hiring not only salespeople. Again, this goes really far for salespeople because they are social creatures and they do have, lots of options. But whenever you're hiring a high profile role or a really critical role, just making sure you have a defined process of communication in between there. Any other, closing thoughts, Andy, before we go into some Q&A and some of that?
Yeah, I'd like to plug my company for a second, if you don't
Yeah,
mind.
go for it.
If anybody out there needs assistance, some things that I really take pride in with my organization. Again, I have roughly around 50 clients that I represent. My interview to placement ratio through executive level search, I'm placing 1 out of 3 people that I send to my clients. And typically my clients have a tough time deciding upon the 3. So when I partner with a company, I don't care if it's a C-level position, a sales position, an operations position. I truly get a sense of what my clients are looking for. And then I've got a process internally here, about a 4-pronged process to go out and find those 3 to 5 candidates that are going to be exactly what my clients are looking for. So if anybody out there ever needs a 27-year pretty good recruiter, I'd love to help you folks out.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, I'll go into just a couple questions here that are out there. Andy, this one kind of seems like it might be for you, but any best practices utilizing LinkedIn for, either attracting or finding talent that somebody could use?
Right. So I have what I pay for is something called LinkedIn Recruiter. It's they keep pushing the price up. It is extremely expensive. But we utilize LinkedIn Recruiter. I do utilize some 1099s that I don't pay for that. So they use general LinkedIn. And so, LinkedIn, if you don't have LinkedIn Recruiter, you can go to any company in the United States and pull up all their employees. Once you pull them up, at least you could get a list of names. We try to connect with everybody on LinkedIn. We add them to our database. We build rapport with them. So look, LinkedIn is a great tool. My business, that is my business's heartbeat outside of my own database. So LinkedIn Recruiter, actually, I'm going to plug my company again. We're recognized in the world as a top, I believe we're top 15 in-mail recipient. So when people send out those messages, every person that we send it out to in the whole world, we get a very high response rate. But LinkedIn is a great tool. Utilize it. All the information you need is there, open to the general public. So there you go.
Awesome. I think this question's kind of for you here as well too, but in determining the right comp package, like how do you figure out, for good salespeople in certain areas, how to even start, getting that correct comp package?
Well, personally, I've been doing this for so long. I know what the Oracles pay. I know what all the payroll companies pay. I know what all the software companies pay. If there's an industry that we start working in that is outside of our expertise, what I do is I run it's called an engagement fee. The engagement fee basically it goes to the overall fee once we go out there, but we will go into the market. We will target the companies that you want us to target, and then once we get those candidates on the phone, we make it about the candidate. They never know the company that we're recruiting them for. The candidates believe that we are recruiting them for something bigger and better. So we never want to waste a candidate's time. And we know that there's laws being passed nationally now that companies cannot ask for W-2 or income information. But when I'm trying to help somebody, the candidates are really wanting to share what they're earning. And so as we run those engagement fees for our clients, we kind of build like a retained profile of exactly what these people are earning out in the marketplace. We share that intel back with our clients, and the clients typically adjust their comp to attract those people. A lot of people, a few of my clients recently have said to me, Andy, how do we know that they're misleading? And so when we talk to 10 people from one company throughout the United States, and the comp is for, let's say, 8 of the 10 identical, and then we've got 2 that maybe it's off, I'll get those candidates back on the phone and I'll really address it. And I don't want to scare them, but I want to tell them that, look, I'm here to help, and honesty is the best policy, and I will help you get to the next level. Are you sure your salary is this? And are you sure you're earning this? So sometimes they'll retract back, and then that'll give us a good model to share with our clients to start putting a comp package in place to attract those people.
Awesome. Very good. Those are all the questions that I have right now. Anything else, Andy, that we didn't cover that might be good parting thoughts for the group?
I think we hit everything pretty good. Just the takeaway is have a defined process, take hiring at all levels as serious as any other action item in your organization. Don't let it drag out, because you will lose people. And again, running ads, it's a waste of time. There's just so much that goes into going through junk candidates when you could go right on LinkedIn and call your competitors and recruit those people.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, again, thank you all for attending this session here. We do have a QR code here that does take you, if you do want to test out, again, we use PXT Select for our sales aptitude profiles, and we do have models built for account managers, business development, and regular sales account executives as well too. And we'd be happy to help with that again, just to test and see what that would look like. For attending this webinar, we do have 50% off if you scan this QR code. If you're not a QR code person, feel free to shoot me an email. I'll get you the code to be able to do that. Yeah, if you've got any other questions, we've got our contact information right there. And we appreciate you taking the time here today with all of us, and have a great day. Thank you again.
Thanks, Tyler.
Yep. Thanks, Andy. Bye.